Hello everyone, welcome to this New York City guide, specifically a Manhattan guide, and this is from, I would consider myself a local at this point. I lived in the city since 2019 and I decided to go to all my favorite spots and just show you what they were, so let's get into it. So in each of these neighborhoods I'm going to highlight some activities, things to do, my favorite parks, coffee, or just like rest stops, as well as restaurants and bars. So let's go ahead and start with the Lower East Side. I would say Lower East Side, the vibe is very young. It's a lot of NYC students, a lot of people who are into the arts, I would say, a little alternative. And so let's just hop right into it with thrifting. So for thrifts, I would start, or I'd mainly thrift at 2nd Street Thrift. It's a great space just to bop around, and it's not as expensive either as some of the other vintage stores in the city. So 2nd Street Thrift is definitely there for me. Parks, I love Tompkins Square. There's also a really great bagel shop, which you guys, if you're looking at NYU, or sorry, if you're looking at NYC things, and you may have seen Tompkins pop up, great bagels. One of the only bagels where they actually still make their bagels everything by hand versus using some machines. But anyway, I would grab a bagel and then I'd also go to the park, and that has been many a morning. Washington Square is a great spot to people watch. You also should just check out the NYC Parks page because they often have movies in the park and other performances, so just see what's going on before hopping over, or just hop over and, you know, have a great afternoon just watching everyone live their lives. Anyway, Union Square is, it's in the middle, but I'm still gonna put it on the Lower East Side because I just tend to hop off at Union Square, which is 14th Street, and then walk east. I would love to go to the farmer's market in the morning at Union Square and then walk on over to any of these parks or thrift or hop around galleries, any of that things that are kind of on the to-do list for the day. Museums, there aren't that many museums that I love on the east side. I would say Photographiska. There's a cute bar inside, and it's really easy and digestible because it's quite a narrow museum, I would say, and it's, I think, 4 or 5 floors, but you can get through it relatively quickly. So if you're with someone who is not a big museum person, you can definitely knock it out and see everything in, I would say, 1 to 2 hours. So I would definitely recommend that. In terms of coffee and bites, it'll be a lightning fast round because there are too many, but I would say some highlights are Prince Street Tea House, La Cabra, Libre Bakery, Dominique Ansel Bakery. If you go, you have to get the almond croissant. It's my favorite. It's amazing. Also large enough that you can share with someone. Cafe Lyria, Little Ruby's, Two Hands, and then also, I'm not too sure if this is how you pronounce it, but Setsukeka East Village. It's a spot where they make matcha in front of you traditionally, so it's really beautiful. It's a wonderful experience just to go and get to choose exactly which matcha you'd like. There's a lot of different varieties and different regions that it's actually harvested in, so you get to choose, and then matcha, they make it for you, and it's, you sit crossed legs, very traditional, and I would highly recommend that spot if you need a little matcha. Pick me up around 3 or so. For food, I'm just gonna recommend, I say my top 4 spots really are Yellow Rose. It's a great spot to get if you're into Tex-Mex at all. They have really great tacos, and it's really quite affordable as well for the East Village, so I would definitely recommend that for brunch. Azatar is my favorite Mediterranean spot in the East Village. I would say, in terms of my top 3 cuisines, Mediterranean, Indian, and East African has been my favorite. East African because I am East African, and also because our food slaps. But anyway, Azatar, great Mediterranean spot, and it's really quite comfy in there as well. Ayat is another Palestinian restaurant that I really enjoy. Orchard Grocer is a great spot. It's a bodega, so you can actually go in and get a sandwich or like a salad or something on the go. It's nice and quick. And they have some really fun house-made sodas as well, so you can grab one of those. And I'm gonna give just an honorary mention to Cafe Mogador. It's a Moroccan spot. If you love tagine, or if you honestly just love really intimate settings, then this is a great spot to have a date night as well. And my favorite wine bar, I would say, so my favorite bar or like social thing to do, there is Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and so this is a spot actually where they have spoken word a few nights a week, and it's really social and kind of community focused. So if you're looking to move to the Lower East Side, that'd be a good spot just to start to meet folks and make that your routine. But if you're just popping in for a drink and you want something a little chill, I would say the Immigrant is my favorite wine bar. It's quite affordable and the folks are really nice in there, and they have really good tapas as well, so highly recommend. For the activities section, the thing is, the Lower East Side is definitely a spot where folks just go out as well. So there are lots of really good rooftop bars. My favorites are Mr. Purple on Public. Public is a hotel, so you can easily just go up there and get a good view of the city, have a couple drinks before if you're going clubbing. For clubbing, pianos, but again, it's a little bit of a younger crowd, and I would say that most folks who are in their late 20s, which is what I am, we tend to go just to social houses more likely than we are going to bars and clubbing. But I mean, there are some other really good bars as well. I would say Gold Bar or Last Lap. Those are some fun spots to go to, or Flower Shop. You can go there as well. But again, if you're looking just for a spot that's really fun, you can hang out with your friends and no one's too worried about what someone else is wearing or like checking for anyone else, then I would recommend the Immigrant. Moving right along to the West Village and Chelsea, I would say thrifting any housing works. They have a few different locations across the city. They have one on the Upper East Side, which I also really enjoy, and most of their profits also go towards aid research, so it's nice to support a good cause and also get some goodies. The West Village is also a pretty good location. Also, when you're around there, it's quite close to Beacon's Closet, which is another chain in the city, and they also have some good finds that are quite affordable. But I don't know, Beacon's Closet is getting to be a little overrun. I would say my favorite location if you're going to hop to Beacon's is the one in Chelsea, versus there's also a location in Brooklyn, so either of those two would be good thrifting options. Let's slide on into parks now. So the High Line and Little Island, I think, are two that I always go to whenever I have folks visiting, because you can actually get right to Little Island just from walking the High Line and then getting off and going straight over, which if you check out my shorts on my day in Chelsea, you'll see that I did that. And just some honorary mentions, again, Union Square. It applies to both the East Side and the West Side. Museums, again, for the West Village, I would say the Whitney is a favorite, and also any David Zwirner gallery. So I love galleries because they're nice and succinct, and usually just see a few artists, maybe 2 to 3, and it's in and out. You can spend 30 to 40 minutes there, and you feel like you got enough content that you can actually have a conversation with whoever you're with, but also not be overwhelmed with how much there is to see and explore. So I would definitely highly recommend any of the David Zwirners. They have a few different locations, but I think 2 or 3, most of them are in the West Village. And then in terms of the Whitney is nice because, again, if you're doing the High Line to Little Island, it's actually, they're right across the street from each other, so you can walk the full High Line and then get off, hot check out Little Island, and then actually go to the Whitney as well. So if you're going to be doing this on a Friday, which I recommend, and it's been my routine a couple times, on Fridays, the Whitney actually has free Fridays at the Whitney. I think it's either the 2nd Friday or the 3rd Friday of the month, so check their website just to see, and you get discounted tickets if you have New York City residency. But if you're visiting someone, have them bring their ID so they can get your tickets. Perfection. Lots of really good coffees and great spots in the West Village, but I'm just going to name my top 3. So number 1, I would say, is Covert Coffee. They have a really good dirty chai, and also it's in that area from the Whitney. So let's say you did the High Line, you went to Little Island, you can go have a coffee break before going to the museum, or go to the museum, have a coffee break, and then go about the rest of your evening. So either of those is I would say, a pretty good routine, or a pretty good like itinerary for the day. I would also say Gotan has really good pastries, so I'd recommend that highly. And then, oh my goodness, actually I'm not very good, I'm gonna say 3. So Fabrique Bakery has the best cardamom buns in the city. If you're a fan, definitely check them out. They have some seasonal flavors as well. So I recently had the maple pecan, which was so good. And then Italy, I'm gonna put Italy in, you know what, actually I'm gonna say Italy is one of the food wrecks. So let's just move into foods. So I would say 3 food wrecks. Italy, it's kind of like an Italian supermarket in the city. There's, I think, 2, just one in this Chelsea West Village area, and then one that's a little bit further downtown. And so they have really great sandwiches. They also offer cooking classes, which is so much fun. My sister and I have gone to a few of their like pizza classes, pizza making classes, pasta making classes. It's a fun time and not too crazy priced as well. Really can't go wrong. There are a lot of really good spots, but I would say my favorite spots for pizza, which I haven't mentioned yet, is Mama's too. They have a really good poached pear slice, which is fun and different. They use gorgonzola cheese, and it's actually pairs really well with the pear, so I'd recommend that. And then also Chama Mama, it's Georgian, and it's a great sit down family style, get a few different apps and share it, and it's a good place for friends. So I'd recommend Trauma Mama as well. And then let's see, okay, one little honorary mention. I'm gonna say Nami Nori is also another favorite. They have hand rolls, and it's usually $5 to a set, and they're really nicely priced. They have a really great vegan set as well for any of your vegetarian friends, and I haven't really met anyone who doesn't like it. So Nami Nori as well for sure. Oh my god, I'm looking at my list right now. I have everything on my iPad, and I have so many more recs. So if you like any more, feel free to send me a message or a comment, and I can give you specific recommendations for food spots. But I'm just gonna move along because otherwise this would be a very long video. Delta Mama is one of my favorite bars. It's actually a spot where a lot of different Broadway performers come, and they'll do some impromptu performances. So if you're a fan of the theater, definitely check it out. You might be surprised by who decides to visit, so I would recommend Don't Tell Mama. And the second spot that I would go to if I'm going out in the West Village would be either Blue Note Jazz Club or the Comedy Cellar. So Blue Note is a great spot to catch jazz. If you're going to be visiting with your parents or with family, that would be a fun nighttime activity for folks. And if you're with a friend, definitely check out the Comedy Cellar. Tickets can be a little pricey, and of course they have the 2-drink minimum, but there's normally a pretty good lineup, and it's always a fun time. Okay, so there's this little neighborhood in Soho called Nolita. It really is like a few blocks, a few cross streets, but I spent a lot of time in Nolita because my first year in the city I actually worked in the area, so I have to give a little honorary mention to Nolita, and I'm going to share a few different spots. One of the hidden gems that I would say is the Elizabeth Street Garden, and it's just this little alcove of, if you've seen The Secret Garden, then you're gonna know what I'm talking about. But it's just this little wonderland that is smack dab in the middle of Soho, and it's a beautiful sculpture garden. There's lots of just it looks like lawn furniture, like seating. It's very organic. That's honestly the theme, and it's a great spot just to bring your coffee, have a lunch break, read a book, and also do a little people watching. For coffee and bites, I would say the chai spot is one of my favorite spots. It's on Mott Street, and it's a traditional Pakistani spot, yes. And you go inside, you take your shoes off, you get your chai, and there's lots of different seating. You can just sit cross-legged on a pillow, and it's a great spot just to catch up. They're also open late, so if you and your friends are not really feeling anything of the alcoholic variety, it's a good spot just to have some tea and do a little catch up as well. For bakeries, I'd recommend Supermoon Bakehouse. They always have really fun creations. The pastries are a little expensive, around the maybe $6 to $10 range depending on what you get, but they usually are sizable, so you can share with someone, and they're always fantastic. So I definitely would recommend a little stop inside. For food, there's only one spot that I'd recommend, and that'd be Tacombi. Is my favorite, or my go-to Mexican spot in the area. They have really good sweet potato and black bean tacos. I'm a vegetarian, so it's always been my go-to. They have good happy hour deals, good spot just to get some tacos, get a margarita, and take a little break from all your walking around or whatever it is that you're doing in the city. Moving right along, let's get to Midtown. There are a few different parks that everyone should keep in mind. Bryant Park is one of them. Bryant Park has a ton of different things going on, even during the day. So they normally have like an art class or yoga, or if you're visiting over the fall, they're going to have movie nights as well, and there are lots of things to do. So again, check their calendar. It's always bustling over the winter. There's the night markets, and it's just, there's always something happening at Bryant Park. And this video would not be a New York City guide if I didn't mention Central Park. Obviously there's a ton to do in Central Park. It could be its own separate video, but it is in Midtown, so go to Central Park, please. In terms of museums, there's only one main museum that I can think of in Midtown, and that's MoMA. So you can go ahead and check out the MoMA. MoMA is actually not in my top 3 museums, if I would say. It's just always, I think because it is in Midtown, it's really busy usually with tourists, and so I would rather go somewhere maybe a little bit more out of the way and be able to actually look at the art without having someone breathing over your shoulder. So you can go to MoMA if you'd like, but I would actually go to the NYPL, the Stavros location. It's a beautiful library, and there's lots of, they actually sometimes have exhibits up too, so you can walk through that. They have a Harry Potter room, if you're familiar with this, the grand scene of that. Coffee and bites in Midtown, it's really just very tourist trappy. But I would say there's 2 spots. You can go to Angelina Paris, which no need to say anything more. It's, you know, a very famous tea house that's in Paris, but they have locations in New York as well. But I would also recommend Remy Flowers. It's a flower shop and they do tea and coffee. It's on the east side of Midtown, but it's still Midtown, so I would check that out if you need something and you're in the area. In terms of food, again, I don't really get food, so I would say maybe Joe's. It's a chain in New York. They have pretty like solid 7 out of 10 pizza. It's a good spot to grab a quick slice as you're on your way to the theater, which is my favorite thing to do in Midtown. I would say any Broadway show, any theater show, it's always a highlight, so I would grab a slice and then just be on my way. I'm also a very big theater girl, so my favorite shows, if you're in the city within the next year or so, and it's 2024 now, I would say Hadestown is my #1 favorite. #2 I would recommend is The Great Gatsby. It's amazing. And MJ the Musical also was quite fun, but if you're gonna go to a musical, please go see Hadestown or Great Gatsby. Gatsby, if you know the story, even though the ending is not the most heartening, they do a really good job of showing what the 20s could have looked like in America, and the excitement and the exuberance and the kind of flamboyancy of that time. So I would definitely check it out. And Hadestown is just heart-wrenching, but in the most beautiful way. So those are my 2 faves. Okay, so that is downtown done. So we did east side, we did west side, we did midtown. Let's move up a little bit, and that's where I spent the majority of my time. I lived on the Upper East Side for 3 years, and I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Upper East Side first, and East Harlem, because I worked in East Harlem and it's kind of a 30-minute walk from where I was living, so I spent a lot of time going different routes and checking out and seeing what was new. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So thrifting, there is a Housing Works on 90th and 2nd. Please check it out. I have found some gems there. I'm talking designer gems, but even just to get decorations or home furniture, they always have a really good array of options. So check out Housing Works. And that's kind of all that I have for thrifting on the Upper East Side. In terms of park, I would recommend Carl Schutz. It's on the East River, so it starts on like 90th and York, and then it goes all the way down to 70th, but it also heads up as well until maybe 96 or so, and you can kind of walk that full path. So it's a good if you're gonna go for a run, if you are gonna grab a bagel and wanna come sit by the water. There's also a ferry stop as well on 90th and York, so if you're gonna take the ferry from the East Side to Astoria, that is one of the ferry stops. So again, there's always lots of fun things happening at that park as well. They have some Shakespeare showings over the summer, and again, please check the calendar. Museums, again, I mentioned that I don't really go to the Whitney and MoMA as much because I'm spending all my time on Museum Mile, which is on the East Side, and so it's 5th Avenue, and there are, my favorite museums are located there. So obviously the Met, really there are no words. Go to the Met. The Guggenheim is across the street. Salon 94 actually is one of my favorite galleries as well. It's really fun, it's interactive, there's a beautiful staircase that I've seen some great photos being taken from, similar to the Guggenheim and how they have that beautiful architecture. I'd say Salon 94 has something that is similar and usually not as trafficked as well. When you're walking by, you would think it's just a residential building, so it's kind of speakeasy-esque, but I would check it out. The Africa Center on 110th and 5th is one of my favorites to pop into as well and just see what exhibits they have going on, but they're not always open, so make sure to check their website and see what their current offerings are, because sometimes they actually close and they're only really open when there's a new exhibit or when they have an event going on. But if you're up there, I would definitely check out Teranga, and I know I haven't gotten to food just yet, but Teranga is right on the same block as Africa Center, and it's my favorite West African spot. They do bowls that are too good, so please go to Teranga. El Museo del Barrio is another museum that is dedicated to Hispanic heritage, and they always have different offerings as well, so if you're up there, you might as well make it a museum day and go inside as well. So for coffee and bites, again, this actually was a very hard list for me to make because I have lots of favorites, but I'm going to go through my top 3 and then I'm going to give my favorite items from there as well. So the first would be I Love Us. They have a really great dark chocolate flourless brownie, which is too good. It honestly feels like indulgence, and it's wonderful. They also do bowls and sandwiches and things like that as well. It's a quick breakfast spot, but if you're going, get the brownie and get a flat white as well. McKaylee Bakery on 90th and 1st, I say has the best cookie in New York. They have a rocher cookie, which is imagine a Ferrero Rocher inside of a chocolate chip cookie. I'm gonna pause and let you think about that. Moving on. The Bagel Shop is my favorite bagel on the east side. It's on 93rd and 3rd, and you can easily get a bagel. Sometimes they have a line if you're going on the weekend, but if you're going during a weekday, it can be really quick. And then go on and walk over to the East River and enjoy it by the water. That has been many a Saturday mornings for me. Julienne is a bakery as well, and they have really fun and different creative French pastries. So if you're looking for a good French bakery, I would check them out. They're on 96th and Madison, and it's really close to Central Park, so you can grab a pastry and then go sit at the park and do some people watching or just enjoy your pastry. If you're looking for somewhere to study, I would recommend El Barista or Delaria. Those are two spots that are quiet and they're quite affordable. They have really good drinks as well as pastries, and they're open until 5. Well, Delaria is open until 5, and El Barista is open quite late until 8 p.m. So that has been it's a good late night study spot. But moving on to food, I have too many recommendations. Let's start with Shamoun's Way. If we're going for quick, reliable, like a bowl as you're on your way somewhere, I would get Shamoun's. It's Lebanese. You can get falafel, you can get lamb, you can get shawarma. There's lots of different options, and they're quite affordable as well. So I would go to Shamoun's. I already mentioned Taranga, it's another bowl spot. Or if you haven't realized, I'm a bowl girly. I love a grain or a salad, some proteins, and other good fixings, so that is always been my go-to. So I would recommend El Badawi if you're looking for somewhere to sit down. They don't have drinks though, so it's BYOB, but the meze platters are amazing. It's a great spot just to catch up with a good group of 3 to 4, and I would highly recommend the Muhammara. You have to get it if you go. It's so good. If you're looking for takeout, I would get Mughlai. It's an Indian spot. Their service is but sometimes that's how it is. When the food is amazing, the service is not that great, so it's a good takeout option, but they have really great Indian food. My favorite falafel in the city is from Mito's Halal Cart. It is on 86th and 3rd. He's so nice, and the falafel is so great, so please go to Mito's. It's amazing. It's $6, reliable, euro. It's a good size. It's saved me from many a starvation, so please check out Mito's. Moving along, I'm gonna only highlight one spot for bars and social, because if I'm gonna be going out on the Upper East Side, I'm going to this spot. It's called Kaya. It is a South African wine bar, really the only South African wine bar in the city. The service is amazing. The drinks are really good. The sticky toffee pudding is there. What more do you need? Honestly, go. And it's quite close to the Met as well, so if you went to the Met for date night on Friday night and Saturday night, they have date night at the Met where they're open later. So go to the Met, and then after, maybe around 10 or so, go check out Kaya. You know, stay there for as long as you need. They are very soft closers, so there has been many nights where I look around, there's no one else there, and I'm profusely apologizing, but they're just amazing. So it's a great spot to spend a Friday. So let's cross the park and go over to the Upper West Side. I would say my favorite spot to go thrifting on the Upper West Side, any of the Goodwills. They have some good Goodwills, Salvation Armies, some of those classic spots. They usually have a good offering. For parks other than Central Park, I would recommend the Upper West Side Community Garden, and it's very similar to Elizabeth Street Garden in that it's very easy to miss if you're walking by, but it's a beautiful, really wonderfully kept secret, and it's a little garden. You go inside, you can bring your lunch and just chit chat, and it's very peaceful. So if you need a little break from the city, I would check it out. In terms of museums, the Natural History Museum is on the west side. If you're going, I would recommend going on a Sunday, because on a Sunday you can actually check out the Grand Bazaar, which is a weekly thrift flea market. Essentially, they have food, but they also have clothing and lots of other different items as well. So go on a Sunday, go to there's a farmer's market as well, so lots happening on the west side on the Sunday. So go to the farmer's market, go to the flea market, and then go over to the Natural History Museum, and you have your day spent. During all those activities, if you need a quick bite, I would go over to Peace Food Cafe. Even if you're not a vegetarian or a vegan, they have amazing pastries, they have really good bites, they have a really good burger that Meat Eaters have actually told me is amazing, so please try their ultimate burger. And if you're going to get a pastry, I'm jealous, number one. Number two, I would go for the carrot cake or the raspberry spelt bar. So it's kind of, imagine the granola topping or any of the crumble toppings on a bar with jam. Too good. For food, I'd recommend the Migrant Kitchen. It's a spot that's actually ran by immigrants, and they always have a rotating menu, so it's a good spot just to go and support. And Chamamama and Mama's Too actually both have locations as well, so if you're feeling pizza or DoorDash food, then you can also check out their location on the Upper West Side. If you aren't tired out by the farmers market, the flea market, the museum, I would pop into Strand. It's a New York City based bookstore chain, and they have amazing selections. They always have fun and interesting ways to get folks engaged and interested in reading as well. So they have kind of a blind date by reading section that I really love just to explore and grab. So I would check out the Strand, definitely. In the evening, the Upper West Side Comedy Club is pretty good. It's pretty solid. But most of the time I don't spend my nights in the Upper West, so not too much to recommend there, but I've gone once or twice and it's acceptable. Okay, let's go uptown, let's go to Harlem. I'm gonna skip the thrifting section here because I don't really go thrifting in Harlem, but there are a ton of parks. Let's go to that first. The first is Marcus Garvey Park, and if you're visiting over the summer, check and see if the Classical Theater of Harlem has any productions. It's a fantastic theater company, and their shows are normally free but donation based, so they have lots of different interpretations of Shakespeare that they do different offerings to portray. So I've seen King Lear, I've seen them do a few different other shows as well, and they sometimes feel like an Afro-futuristic component to it. So the music is good, the acting is amazing, and it's also just a fun way to spend a night in the park. So I would recommend Marcus Garvey for sure. If you're looking for a good museum, so this is more of a museum slash library hybrid, but it's the Schoenberg, and it's the Center for Black Studies. Essentially, they have a lot of different research materials, and they also have exhibits as well. So check their website, see what they have going on, and do a little meander. In terms of coffee and bites, I'd recommend Oasis Cafe. They are a juice bar, but they also have little bites as well. The sambusa is really good. I've had the lentil, and I've also had a few of their different smoothies and juices, and it's really affordably priced, so that's a good spot just to pop into. And if you're looking for a sweet treat, I would go to either Sugar Hill Creamery or LA Sweets New York. Luckily, they're actually on the same block, so you can go to both if you're feeling wild. Or what I have done in the past is I would go to LA Sweets New York, which is more of a pastry shop, and you can get either like a cookie or a cake. Sometimes I get a cookie, and then I'll go across the street to Sugar Hill Creamery and I will get a scoop of ice cream and make a little cookie sandwich. Pro tip for you. Sugar Hill has a lot of fun, different, interesting flavors as well. They have gelato, but they're mainly an ice cream shop, and I would definitely go if you're in the area. If you're looking for food, I would say Quick Bite would be Eleganza. It's another bodega, but they have really good falafel wraps. And if you're looking for a sit-down spot, I'd recommend Deli Masala. They have really great Indian options. It's usually my Indian go-to if I'm in the area. And another would be Masawa. It's an Eritrean spot actually. And if you enjoy injera or any of those flavors similar to Ethiopian cuisine, then you're really going to enjoy Masawa. For bars and social, I've gone out in Harlem a few times, and I normally go to the Apollo. So they have something called Amateur Night at the Apollo, where they give you boo and yes signs, and it's a talent show essentially. So folks get to go up on stage, and it's really interactive because you get to either boo or yes them, depending on how you feel. And people actually boo people off the stage, so it's really funny, and it's really interactive, and it's a great way to spend usually actually it's on Wednesdays, so it's a great way to spend a Wednesday night if you're in the area. So definitely go to the Apollo. Okay, so that is Manhattan done, which is crazy, but let's do my honorary mentions and my ideal Brooklyn day. My ideal Brooklyn day, I would start at Prospect Park, and I would hit up Prospect Park. I would go to the Brooklyn Library, which is, they're all luckily within 10-15 minutes walking of each other. So I'd start at the park, which is the Brooklyn's version of Central Park. So I'd go to Prospect, I would go over to the Brooklyn Library, and sometimes they have different exhibits as well. And I'd also go to the Brooklyn Museum. So you can go, if you're gonna head over on Saturday, they actually do yoga in their front area, so you can enjoy that if you'd like. But I would check out those three spots. And then I'd head over to more of the Greenpoint area and go to a Woke Vintage to do a little vintage shopping. By that point, you're probably starving, so let's do some food recommendations. If you're there in the morning, I go to Peter Pan Bake Shop. It's also in Greenpoint. They have a great selection of different donuts and pastries, and they're really affordable as well, so I would definitely get a treat there. Winsun Bakery also has had its moment this past year, and it's definitely worth the hype, so definitely check out Winsun as well. If it happens to be a Saturday, then you can actually go over to Fort Greene Park, and they have a farmer's market there, so that would be a great spot just to grab a bite from any of the vendors that are present. Those are my little bites. I would say if you want a full meal, I have two mom and pop shops that I really enjoy. The first is Four Seasons, and it's vegetarian, vegan. They do Caribbean food, so you can make a bowl, and it's really reasonably priced. I think it's $10 to a bowl, and it's so great. Another would be Natural Blend, which is of the same type of food, so again Caribbean, again bowl based, but they also have different patties and different breads as well that you can grab as an accompaniment. So bars and social, there's lots to do in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is where a lot of people are actually going out if you're in your later 20s, I would say. And so the first would be Ode to Bobble. That's a fun bar just to pop into with a few friends. Rogers Garden is a little bit smaller, a little bit more low-key. They have a back patio area, and they also have live music some nights, so check their Instagram and see what they have going on. If you're looking for a rooftop view, I would go to Westlight. That's probably one of the most popular spots in Brooklyn, and a great spot to check out even over the winter. They always have electric fireplaces and things like that just to keep it cozy, and they give a really great view of the city as well. If you're looking for something to do during the day, I would recommend the Polanski Shakespeare Center. They always have really amazing productions. I saw a showing of The Merchant of Venice a little while ago, and I really enjoyed it, so check out their website and see what they have going on. Very family friendly if you're, again, visiting the family. Otherwise, go out with the girls, go out with your guys, and enjoy the city. Okay, so that is my New York City guide done. If you have any specific questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments section. And if you want to see, again, what an ideal day in each of those neighborhoods looks like to me, feel free to check out my shorts section where I've already posted those videos. So again, I hope you enjoyed, and I will check you guys out next time. Bye.